Well, hello. Fancy meeting you guys here.
Hello.
This is the Super Chat Catch Up. It's last orders here at the open bar, and as much as we love doing Super Chats on the night of the open bar, we can't always get through them all. So here we are. We're gonna pile through them tonight and get those questions answered. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, we spent the past like half hour or so talking about John Wick 4, but that's something to tackle in the next open bar, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense.
But hey ho. Anyway, we've got a bit of time here, so let's take a look at the first one that came through the other night. So, probably was from Big Dave K, who says, "Hey, critical drinker, I suggest films by S. Craig Zahler. All three of his movies are fantastic, including Bone Tomahawk. Also, how's that sound clip coming? Oh yeah, actually yeah. Do me a favor, mate. Email me with the lines that you want me to say, because I think I might have lost your email and I don't want to get it wrong or whatever. So yeah, just send me an email or contact me through Patreon, either one, and just let me know the dialogue you want me to do, and I will get that sorted for you. But yeah, S. Craig Zahler. I'm going to see what his other movies were, because yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of Bone Tomahawk.
It's a good-looking movie, and very.
Oh
Has like one of
yeah,
the most disgusting scenes in it of all time.
yes, that's the bits that I've seen because like, just like sheer morbid curiosity. I was like, "What is this shit?" And yeah, well, I saw it, and yeah, that's something I'm going to remember forever, I guess. Yeah, he also did Brawl in Cell Block 99, yeah, with Vince Vaughn, which was a really weird role for him, but I remember him being pretty good in that. I quite liked it.
Hmm.
Yeah, Dragged Across, I haven't seen that one, so I'm not sure about that. But yeah, there we go. A potential candidate for future reviews. Yum Yum Eat 'em Up says, "So, Long Man, given the RE4 remake will be out in your region by the time this open bar ends, going to get right into playing it, or are you going to wait until the weekend?" Now
Well,
we've got 2020 hindsight.
the whole playthrough's available, so I guess it doesn't matter now.
How many playthroughs did it take to get to the end for you?
3 streams of I think it was 8 hours, 10 hours, and 9 hours.
Jesus, 10-hour stream. Like, what if you need to go for a piss or something? You just like leave the stream for a bit.
Usually pee beforehand, and then I usually don't need to pee until the end. So
Man's a camel. God damn it, he's not human. Uh, Adiz says, "Already drunk and still no drinking to have good times with. I love the group of people, Nerdrotic, Drinker, Az, Quarter Black Garrett, X-Ray Girl, Mauler, and the rest. Thank you all for making life easier." Well,
maybe.
thank you. We aim to make people's lives a little bit easier, so appreciate it. Kim Bob says, "Spend a week in a cabin with either Brie Larson going on about white privilege or Jennifer Lawrence going on about how she is the only lady in Hollywood. That's your choice." I don't know, what would you go for?
Probably the latter. Sounds like it'd be funny.
I think I'd probably rather spend the time with Jennifer Lawrence, yeah. Because you can kind of just laugh at it and be like, like, show me your boobs, you know. It's fine. There's something good to be had there, I suppose. It's funny, actually, Baggage Claim that we've had on the channel a couple of times, she just did a video about Jennifer Lawrence, like, today. Like, basically chronicling why people don't like her that much anymore and, like, how her career kind of got derailed. And it makes for interesting viewing, actually. It's stuff that I hadn't really considered. But yeah, good stuff. She's a little bit of like a previous generation's like hot thing, I suppose. Like she was all the rage like 10 years ago, and it's just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of sputtered out, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing her around in main things anymore, really.
Did you watch Don't Look Up at all?
I did actually, yeah.
Was she good in it, and was it good? Because I didn't really bother with it.
Complicated answer is that it's. I think someone would say it's obviously satire, and I'd be like, I mean, a lot of it is. A lot of it's weird. It's a film that basically just wanted to poke fun at like how nobody takes any serious matters serious anymore in terms of like world-ending threats,
Yeah.
especially to do with the climate and environments and stuff. And like the joke is they literally have evidence that they're all going to die, and nobody takes it seriously. And it's like, there's some stuff in it I thought was funny. She's fine in it. Sometimes annoying. Sometimes, like, I think it works for the character. It's kind of hard to say. Maybe you should watch it so we can talk about it. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird movie.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like, is it worth like 2 or 3 hours of my time? Maybe, I guess. Might be interesting to talk about, I suppose. OMG Puppy says, instead of woke remakes, they should adapt sci-fi stories by Octavia Butler and Samuel Delaney, two great black authors. FX just did Butler's Kindred, but Wild Seed would be better. Fair play, nice. Mr. Silver says, Blyden awarded Mindy Kaling with an art award. Yikes. Also, any chance that Random Phil Talk will be invited on Open Bar? His Rings of Power videos are long and great. I'm not familiar with that guy, actually. Random Film Talk. Have you heard of him at all?
No.
But yeah, apparently he makes long Rings of Powers videos, so yeah, we could have him on for sure.
Yeah.
And that Mindy Kaling getting that award is just it's peak 2023, I suppose.
Was it for Velma?
I don't think it was for Velma. It was probably something else. Like, because I imagine these things are like arranged way in advance, and probably like before Velma came out. But like, it would just be, it'd be marketed as like, Velma showrunner Mindy Kaling gets a presidential award just to stir up the anger,
Yeah.
But hey ho. Adiz says, I love your rich, deep voice, Drinker. You make me smile so much. You say that in the presence of Muller, like I can't compete with that. That's
All right. We can
not-
have two good voices.
we just stream of us just reading stuff out,
There you go.
Lull people off to sleep. McPolton Face says, gentlemen, when I thought Hollywood writers couldn't get any worse, my man Albelio showed they were legit copying old video game lore as if no one would notice. What's that?
Wait, are they saying what game are they saying that's copied?
Doesn't say. Albelio, so the legit copying old video game lore as if no one would notice. I don't know. I presume they pilfered some game to make a TV show or a movie.
Yeah, maybe.
Without a bit more context, though, I'm not sure. OMG Puppy says, you've mentioned Netflix doing a three-body problem. There's a subtitled Chinese production on Tencent's YouTube channel. Okay, cool. Victoria Alonso's Vag says, heard that Gary was looking for me. Well, we'll forward your details on to Gary and he'll be in touch, I'm sure. Antriv Singh says, let's pour one out to our man Lance Reddick, R.I.P. Alright, well, all I've got is some cheap supermarket wine, but I'll drink to him. R.I.P. Lance Reddick, you will be missed, my friend. Obsidian Mug says, Marvel Productions have about as many shots, reshoots, endings, and script redrafts to turn them into choose-your-own-adventure films. I'd buy that. That'd be kind of interesting, actually. You could put them on Netflix or something.
Well, and then finding out like what's the most popular, journey, I guess, would be interesting to know.
I mean, I assume that's... They can I get the feeling they do that anyway with, like, test screenings. Like, they'll just do loads of them and just gradually refine it down to, like, the most, like, diversity-approved, like, corporatized version that pleases the most people, I guess. Depressing. XSL says, and this is going to be a contentious one, Streamlabs, StreamYards, or OBS, which is better? Fight. I guess you're probably going to say
one you have a
OBS.
preference for. I mean, I'm familiar with OBS. That's the reason I picked that.
I mean, I get the impression OBS is probably more flexible and it can do more stuff. I just find it quite unintuitive and quite, not user friendly. And because I'm dumb as fuck, like it's hard for me to use. And so, StreamYards is ideal. Like there's certain things.
Everyone used Google Hangouts, and then it like got destroyed, and StreamYards was the one that picked up all the people.
Yeah,
it makes me wonder if Google fucked up with that one.
I don't know what happened there, but I mean, with StreamYards, like it's nice and user friendly. Like pretty much anyone could pick it up and use it, and like it's free. Like yeah, okay, you're gonna get logos and stuff everywhere if you don't pay for it, but man, pretty good way to get yourself started with streaming. I just found like with OBS, you kind of needed to have a bit more technical knowledge to get it working right. Mr. Taku Bouti says, Jeff Snyder confirmed that her firing had a lot to do with the vendors hating her. To be fair, she had to get a lot of VFX completed in a short time. I mean, I don't I don't doubt that she did. But yeah, I've heard bad things from all the companies that had to do VFX shots for Marvel. Like, I think we covered this in Open Bar. Like, it was just endless
Yeah.
reshoots and redraftings and stuff, and like they weren't given clear guidelines right off the bat. So yeah, it just seems like bad communication. Party CV says Ant-Man will lose them 100 to 200 million dollars. Laughter. Yeah. I mean,
It's
like,
supposed to make them money.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of deserved in this case because it's not like it's a good movie, but it's just been unfairly maligned because it's part of a bigger, a bigger struggle or whatever. It's it's just genuinely a shit film, so kind of deserves to lose the money.
Have you seen Zachary Levi on Twitter? He put out a Twitter video saying, "Don't go see John Wick, go see Shazam."
That's really sad.
I don't know what to say. Go see John Wick. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, if I had to pick between the two, that's definitely a better use of your time. Yeah.
You will enjoy John Wick more than Shazam 2. You won't even remember Shazam 2.
I don't remember Shazam 2, and I've seen it like just a few days ago. It's just like, yeah, it's a thing that happened with a bunch of superheroes. That's it. That's all I got for you. I mean, fair play to Zachary Levi. Like, he's obviously doing his best to try and save this movie, but it ain't gonna happen. Vinyl Morpheus says, "Drinker, you bourbon behemoth of booze. Do you plan to finish the Dead Space, or will you be moving on to RE4? I hope you get to finish Dead Space, my brother." Yeah, I finished it already. I just, I eventually with games I kind of stop streaming because I want to just, particularly as it gets towards the end of the game, if it's story driven, I want to just be able to enjoy it for myself without feeling like I have to be entertaining like 1,000 people who are watching me. And so yeah, I tend to like kind of fade out with the streaming towards the end. But yeah, I finished it and yeah, very much enjoyed Dead Space. Good fun game, and the final battle was nice and challenging, so I like that. And yeah, now I'm streaming Resident Evil 4, and Resident Evil is just it's my happy place in life. I'm never happier than when I'm playing a Resident Evil game.
For me, it's specifically Resident Evil 4 is my happy place. Not hugely into any of the other ones, honestly.
You're such a newbie. You weren't there back in the day, Mauler. You were just like a baby Mauler when the original Resident Evil was out.
You say that, but like 5, 6, 7, 8, I played them all. Don't like them anywhere near as much as 4.
What about the originals, like the 1, 2, and 3?
I'm
What
not
about the
a fan
remake of 1?
I'm not a fan of the camera being on a ceiling or the walls and stuff.
Oh, I loved that. I loved it. It was just, it was very cinematic back then. I know obviously a lot of it was down to like the limitations of the technology, but yeah, it felt like you were in a B movie, like sort of horror film, and it just really captured that mood. I just loved it. And
How dare you demand precision aiming from me and then give me that kind of control? It was ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, all you could manage to do in that was just point your weapon in the general direction of target and fire, and just hope that you hit something. Like, there wasn't a huge amount going on there, but that was the structure of the game, and it was very much just about exploration and problem solving as much as fighting. So I really liked that. And yeah, it might be nice if we got something like that again, just once or twice, just to experience it again. But hey,
you got your remakes.
Yeah. Well, I got an HD remaster of the RE1 remake, and I liked that. It looked really nice. Stumpy says Marvel's is going to bomb harder than Oppenheimer. Ooh, brutal. There was a trailer for Oppenheimer actually today when I saw John Wick 4, and it did look good. I have to be honest. I liked it.
Well, I hope it is.
Yeah. I think they're overplaying the whole, like, if we trigger an atom bomb, is it going to ignite the atmosphere and destroy the entire world? It's like, I think they probably knew that wasn't going to happen. Like, but never mind.
If they thought there was a reasonable risk of that, holy fuck, what a crazy thing they would have done. I have to imagine they said, no, that's not going to happen.
I would think so, yeah. I mean, it's just like, with a rudimentary understanding of physics, it's like, okay, the whole atmosphere of the planet isn't just going to spontaneously blow up just because you triggered a bomb like this.
What, are you a scientist, or do you know?
I do science stuff. Look, I did it in high school, so I know what I need to know for nuclear fission.
Nuclear fishing.
That's why I was able to bring a high level analysis of Chernobyl when it was out. You know, I was there. I knew it. It's probably why I am the way I am, actually, because I was around back when Chernobyl actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, El Morientes says, it's my birthday today and wanted to thank you all for saving time and many others from losing time and money on garbage like DC and Marvel films. Well, yeah, thank you, man. Glad we can help. JJS says, watch Little Women and Tokyo Vice. Both are amazing. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Vangeris says, have some shekels on me, lads. Thank you for doing what you do. Keep fighting the good fight. And Gary, keep opening them doors. I think he's pretty good at that now, isn't he? He's gotten past that point. He's going to eventually, like, move on to fighting and stuff in games. You know, we're gradually teaching Gary how to do gaming stuff.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see, you know. It's like watching Sargon learn about actual pop culture.
Yeah. It's really cute. Do you know Call of Duty? And so I was like, what's that? Like,
Yeah.
no?
Did you see that that little clip that was posted on Twitter? It was like Jordan Peterson describing just going to see a blues band in Nashville, and he was describing it in the most it was like watching an alien describing, like, you know, doing human stuff for the first time. It's like there was like transcendental waves of ecstasy flowing through the crowd. It's like, fucking calm down, son. You just went to see a fucking blues band in Nashville. It's not that big a deal.
I think what I heard the clip, I was like, I mean, what he's saying could be seen as very much true. It's just you can describe any human experience this way. Like eating food could be described that way.
I think, well, someone posted in the comments, it was like, wait till he discovers restaurants.
I think he was just, I don't know, he was having a moment. I don't know.
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's just like, you know, when you're dealing with someone who's so academic, it's like they've spent their entire lives in like lecture theaters and stuff, and it's like they've never just done regular human things, you know,
Yeah.
like just go and see a live music act or just gone out drinking with their friends or whatever it might be. And it's like, and so when he experiences it for the first time, you're like, holy shit, you know, it's like a guy who's been held in a prison cell his whole life suddenly just experiencing life. It's a bit of a weird one.
It's a well-known archetype in storytelling, right? The nerdy person who gets a taste of the bad life and then goes nuts and off the rails.
Yeah. Who knows? Might end up drinking with him one day.
Hey.
Dizek the Dead says, sounds like we're winning, boys. All I have to say. That's all you need to say, I would reckon. So, well done.
Interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah. Justin34 says, great reviews all. Hope Picard ends on a happy note. Well, take it from a guy who's seen it. It does. I was very happy with how Picard ended. So, yeah. It's going to be interesting seeing people's reactions over the next week or two. Put it that way. Stevie G says, challenge issued. Mauler, we know your love for Buffy, but you don't shy away from noting its faults. Therefore, I ask you to use the power of long to convince me why you wouldn't recommend Buffy. Game's afoot. So, devil's advocate.
It's well, certainly the earlier seasons, they're incredibly campy and kind of broken in terms of just insane things will just happen, and lots of people get out of situations with a get out of jail free card because, you know, you don't want to be killing your main characters. It's special effects are pathetic at times, but you know, what else would I say? Yeah, you get plenty of stretches and contrivances to make the stories work, even in the later seasons. And some characters will make some very, very dodgy decisions that can ruin your entire experience if you really are invested in them. They do a lot of archetype sort of switching. We'll be like, remember this villain? And he's a hero now. And you're like, once you see that for the third time, it can get a little bit tired. But I love it, so. Like, there we go.
And Sarah Michelle Gellar is too damn small.
Yeah, she's
there you
short.
go. That's my contribution to that one. Scott Fisher says, did you guys see The Offer? It's about the making of The Godfather. It's a 10-episode miniseries. I highly recommend it. I've heard about this, I think. So it's like a docudrama or something about the making of the show, of the movie. Kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Creeping Jesus says, sorry, Mauler, but after watching The Whale, I now really wonder what lurks behind that avatar. Just taking the piss, bloke. Have a good one to all on the panel.
Well, let's just put it this way: Brendan Fraser was looking pretty slim in that movie compared to how it can go.
Are you like Pearl from Blade?
Yeah, I can't. It's like I wear my house.
All right, Pirate Tomsky says, fellas, this is why capitalism is great. The market eventually corrects itself. Put out crap, get crap back. Get wrecked, Disney. Yep, you gotta love it. I've said before, yeah, you can put all the ideology you want into any show, and you can ignore criticism as much as you want. But the one thing you can't fake is that bottom line profit and loss statement. And yeah, God bless the free market capitalism.
I've always loved the notion that like late stage capitalism is destroying media. When it's like, bro, they made something awesome in Iron Man, and then a bunch of other things, then Avengers, and like they got on top of the game until they hit Endgame and made a bazillion god money. And then they were like, now we can make whatever we want. And it's like, no, actually, you can't. You still can't.
Yeah.
You're always going to be having to adhere to the audience. And even Marvel have now realized, oh shit, we can't just put out anything.
It's like the ultimate form of democracy, isn't it? Because you don't need to go to a voting station or whatever to do this, to make your feelings heard. You just have to not buy the product that they're trying to offer you. Great.
Well, in our case,
You know, and they can't survive without it. So, yeah, I'm fine with that. Luke's Humberside Blues says, Dear Drinkmeister, please check out the Let's Talk content videos with Dark Hour. His streams with Blue Collar Loser and more are also great. Yeah, I think I just recommended a video of his actually breaking down the hallway fight in Daredevil. So, yeah, he does good stuff. And I did a stream with him. I can't even remember what we covered. I think it was Last Action Hero. But yeah, good guy. Pyroronpa says, Hail Drinker, I just wanted to say... Oh, sorry, Hail Open Bar. I'm taking credit for that. I just wanted to say that I'm a proud hate watcher. I hate what they say and put out, so I watch everyone's reviews on YouTube instead. Well, I mean, it's free, so
Yeah.
do that, yeah. If it gives you entertainment. Draven Holtz says, I recently rewatched Death to Smoochie and remembered that we can have good movies that have morals and not an agenda that makes the plot and characters take a back seat. Yep, it is possible. It used to be quite common, actually. Convincing Reality says, decades worth of source material, yet they instead pick and choose bits, smash it together incoherently, soak it in smug Hollywood comedy, and paint it up with progressivism. There hasn't been a real comic film adaptation in ages. Gary could probably answer that better than I could, but yeah, it does feel like we're on the wane right now. Thomas Brown says, fads are temporary, good writing is eternal. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Furry Kitten says, life, universe, and everything, and taint in between. Well, yeah, that's the essence of Open Bar. Mutalicious says, on New Trek, kudos to the writers for being so optimistic they believe that it would even be possible to get fat in a future socialist utopia. That's true,
Yay.
yeah. Face the wall, comrade. Robert Burasa says, great chat, guys. Do you feel that the game Resistance Fall of Man would be a good movie or movies? Oh, no, I can answer this, actually. Yeah, I remember the Resistance games from back in the day. They were good for multiplayer, as I recall, but like the overall campaign was a little bit wishy-washy. It all felt a bit bland. It was like World War II era soldiers versus aliens, and it was just all a bit meh. So I don't think it's a great basis for a movie series, beyond the novelty of just like American GIs versus aliens.
Well, maybe fix up the story.
Jester of Roanoke says, Freckle Jesus is this generation's Sam Worthington. I think she is, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Stop trying to make Freckle Jesus happen. She's not going to happen.
No.
M919 Silver Bullet says, Drinker, have a movie recommendation. It's called Moso. I thought it was pretty good, but I'd like to hear your opinions on it. Is that on Netflix? Because I feel like I've watched a little bit of that. But yeah, it's like your sort of, I don't know, I guess your typical sort of war on terror war movie, like a modern war film. I thought it was pretty good. It kind of chronicles like the battle for the city. But
Okay.
yeah, the bits that I saw seemed alright. Lazy Titan says Infinity Stones are cosmic, plus the gamma radiation after the snap introduced Red Hulk there to beat back Thanos. Hulk's revenge gets even from the Asgardian ship fight. Cheers to the panel. Yeah, you could have done so much with Hulk. Instead,
Yep.
they made him just an absolute bitch. So yeah, set the tone really. Casey White says corn pop is just an idea, man. Pop corn pop. Well, what can we say? Obsidian Mug says Feige did say 3 months ago that they would use their platform to create a culture war against 2A. There's your hint for what's in the new Daredevil show. Did he say that? I don't remember that getting covered. So 2A is like the right to bear arms, isn't it? Like the Second Amendment.
Second Amendment, yeah.
I assume so. So yeah, it's kind of tough to imagine the Punisher without guns. I guess it seems a bit out of character. Sierra 19 says, "Why did the English teach the Scots how to speak a proper language, and why did they fail?" Well, we are fundamentally untrainable when it comes to speaking. I mean, hence me, you know. But we do our best. Pyro Ronpa says, "I don't trust them with a speck of ash on Kratos' skin."
No.
I wouldn't either. GS Dylan Schneider says, "Schlange all. Appreciate you all and your content. More. Looking forward to diving into Dark Souls 2 dissection series after I take the crown from the old Iron King and retrieve my scholarship from the first sin."
Well, hopefully you enjoy Dark Souls 2. Prepare to watch 8 hours of videos telling you why I fucking hated it.
Darius White says, "The Mary Sue, Abby Smash, and that's a good thing." Yeah, how many of those fucking headlines have we seen? Your life's terrible and you want to murder yourself, and that's a good thing.
Was it, Marvel movies don't have like are bad and that's a good thing or something like that?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the degree of cope there is just insane. Edit Man says, "Well, yes, critical drinker. The game's adaptations are often handed to bad directors. Look at Yui Boll, for example. He made Blood Rain. That's fantastic. Michael Madsen just giving absolutely zero fucks in that movie.
Yeah.
Far Cry, House of the Dead, Postal, and Alone in the Dark. Yeah, back in the day, I think they were just able to snap up game rights for peanuts, you know?
Imagine having all of those and you got a budget and actors and you did what he did. He got away with it in terms of people despising that man. I know he's seen as like one of the worst directors of all time, but I just mean that you torched that many IPs in their movie adaptations. Damn, dude.
I would love to see what Yui Boll could do with The Last of Us. Just out of pure curiosity. It'd be glorious. Spencer Corpus says, "I can never take anyone seriously who says The Last of Us is just another zombie story. Like, do they even know what they're saying? Thoughts?" I mean, yeah, it's kind of deeper than that, I guess. It's really about humans rather than zombies.
That's what Gary said. He hasn't played it, so, or at least I think he watched episode 1 of the show. So I think he just sort of he saw a lot of similarities to maybe Walking Dead, maybe I don't know, but yeah, like Last of Us. Whenever you ask the question, is like, what do you take away from The Last of Us? What's meaningful to you? Most people are talking about Joel and Ellie, not zombies, and fighting them and stuff.
Cocky4 says, "I don't think it's just comic book movies that killed the movie star. I think it's jealousy and greed from the studios that did it." I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably like a combination of like having movie stars be a bit more disposable, there being more of them, there being like a more of a focus on like characters, particularly superheroes, that like that combination of things just did them in.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Neill says, "Call it a guilty pleasure, but the 90s Mortal Kombat movie is still my favorite Mortal Kombat adaptation." It is a guilty pleasure, but it is a pleasure all the same. Just not the second one. Yeah. Thorn Parbs says, "I had my girlfriend watch the cinematic YouTube cut of The Last of Us when I heard about the show. I wanted her to get the real experience. She loved it, saying, I didn't know games could tell stories like this." So I guess that's like splice all the cutscenes together and make a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that make for a pretty interesting watch, I guess. Nightmare 99 says, guys, Abby's already been cast. Actress is a friend of the director. I saw an article 2 weeks ago. It looks more like Abby than Bella looks like Ellie. I mean, to be fair, I look more like Ellie than fucking Bella Ramsey does. So that's not too tough.
I already feel bad for this girl who's going to have to play Abby.
Mm-hmm.
Better stay off social media.
Yep. I
But
did
you
say...
won't. They never do.
No, they can't. But I did say, like, that girl that was in episode 3 of The Mandalorian, I thought she could do it. You know, she's like an MMA fighter, I think, so she's got, like, some pretty decent muscle going on. And she kind of looks like Abby, like, facially, so...
Oh, you're saying she would be, like, an actual good cast?
I mean, if you had to cast someone to play her, I think she'd probably be alright, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. Obviously, we've only seen a little bit of her, so I don't know what her acting potential is.
Yeah. Haikyuu says, I still want to see the Batgirl movie. Don't we all?
I know.
Sure would have been fantastic. Yeah. Damien Wooten says, have you all ever been with a girl with a paper bag fetish, or is that just me? I mean, it might just be you.
Might just be, yeah.
Midwest Finest says, the death of the movie star has more to do with the social climate, zapping the creativity and freedom away. The product isn't matching with what the market wants. Self-sabotage for wokeness. I mean, yeah, we've discussed it in quite a lot of detail, I guess, like our ideas of like how the movie star kind of died out, but we just know that it doesn't exist anymore.
There was an era where there was a lot of them. Doesn't feel that way anymore.
Yep. Fyodor Dankstoyevsky says, the X-Men will be told through the lens of a gay black man. How is that any different from the Bryan Singer Have You Tried Not Being a Mutant movies? There's a ton of gay allegory in those flicks. I mean, I think that goes all the way back to the comics, really, rather than the movies.
Well, yeah, because I know what they're talking about. It's X-Men 2, I think, right? Where they find out their son is a mutant, and he says, have you tried not being a mutant? Because that's allegorical. Yeah. It's like, I don't think that's bad at all to have that allegory there.
I think, well, you know why it's fine for me is like it works still within the context of the story. Like if you're naive and you're not really aware of the sort of gay allegories, it just holds up as a perfectly fine movie in its own right. Like it's a self-contained story about mutants.
Well, remember
like the
Magneto's story, right? That's the us versus them, like we're persecuted just because we're different sort of aspects. I actually think it's pretty powerful in the story, that stuff.
Yeah. But I guess my point is like it all works within the context of that story. It's not so clunky that you're like taken out of that story because you can see exactly what they're trying to tell you. Like I think it kind of works on its own level, but you can see the allegory there if you're inclined to look a bit deeper, you know. So like for me, that's good writing. You know, it accomplishes two things. Where was I here? Taros Blackburn says, but remaking the thing people actually liked, but in a movie form is also bad. It'll be called out to be pandering to the fans, even if it turns out to be good, it's going to be bad. I wouldn't agree with that. Like are we talking about Resident
Evil, or are we talking about Last of Us? Or
I don't know because there's not really a context for it. I mean, we've got a combination of like Last of Us and X-Men talk at this point in the chat, so I'm not sure what we were talking about there. I really don't like the term like fan service because it implies like it's inherently wrong to just give the fans what they're looking for. And I don't think it necessarily is. Like sometimes you can just give the fans what they want. Like you can do a little bit of fan service and it's not cheap. It doesn't have to be tacky. It's just like acknowledging, they want to see this thing. They want to see this character do a certain thing. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's give it to them. We're crowd pleasers. You know, we're here to entertain.
The reason fan service is now like a negative, I think, is because people don't bring it up when they're happy with the film and things are going well. It usually gets brought up as like, oh, that was blatantly for the fans. And you're sitting there like, what's wrong with being blatantly for the fans? Aren't like most things made blatantly for the fans? And you're like, oh yeah, but I noticed, I guess. I prefer not to notice. I prefer to just be watching it and never get taken up by anything instead of going, oh, that's only there because people, which we point out all the time with Marvel, right? We could be like, oh, great, which cameo is going to be here? Oh, look, it's this guy. Woo, that means it's good now. And so we'll be like, oh, is there a problem with bringing in characters that are beloved from the audience? And you're like, okay, well, no, it's actually about like the contrivance of it, or the ill-appropriate like thing, or the waste of talent, or the waste of potential for the storytelling. That's usually what our complaint is. So, no, yeah, I'm completely with you. There's nothing wrong with putting shit in there because you know people will enjoy it, especially in like long-running franchises. So you're like, oh, they'll love it when we put on the Bond theme if he does this, and it's a reference to this movie, and people, and then someone just goes, that's fan service. You'd be like, okay,
Yeah, it's like so.
yeah, that's fine.
It's like we're ultimately we're here to like make people happy and entertain them. Like
Well, an
that's
example
part of it.
in do you remember the top-down action scene in John Wick 4 with the
Yes.
camera? The track that plays during that is the same track that plays when he's chasing Theon in the first film through the club, and
Oh right.
so I was just like, oh, that's neat, because
That is
it's coming full circle a little bit.
that is a nice little detail. I
And if
mean,
someone said, yeah, that's just fucking fan service, I've heard that song before, I'd be like, okay.
like with Star Trek Picard, like the latest season, that's got a ton of fan service in there. But I feel like it's coming from a good place where it's just like, yeah, we've got this incredible lineage of backstory and like events, characters and stuff that we can draw on and like make little references to it. Why wouldn't we do that? And so yeah, you get a literal museum at one point that's filled with like starships and things from previous generations and
Hmm.
all kinds of memorabilia. Like you might even recognize it more. They've got like the Genesis device from Wrath of Khan there in like a little storage container.
My God.
I'm not even sure how it exists since it blew up, but whatever.
It was a prototype or a backup.
Yeah, they made a second one. It's okay. Victoria Alonso's Vaj says, point us to the dollar pound where capitalism hurt you. Yeah, not for me. It's fine. Capitalism is good. Fyodor Dostoevsky says, Zaslav is turning Warner Brothers into a reality TV studio by 2030. That's my prediction. I mean, that's the last resort of the desperate man. Dean Domino says, I think they should have cast the actor who played the Mountain in Game of Thrones Season 4 as Abby in Last of Us 2. Maybe they will if he comes out as non-binary. There's always a chance. When I was playing through Resident Evil 4 like the other day, you have to fight that giant ogre thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, people were like, yeah, so that's Abby then for Season 2.
I
was like, nah. Needs to bulk up a bit.
Yeah, he's a bit puny.
Grendel Vivat says, regarding great British actors in bad movies, thoughts on Anthony Hopkins in Transformers? Some actors simply elevate whatever scene they're in. Yeah, goddamn.
Have you
Hope
seen
he was
that,
paid
though?
well. Which one? I've seen so many
I don't know
Transformers
which one it is.
movies.
I haven't seen it either, but I've seen the clip where he dies. Have you seen that?
Oh wait, yeah, he's a historian or something, isn't he? Because he's obsessed with like Arthurian legends and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, he gives it his best shot, but you're in a Transformers movie, mate. Like, know your
Yeah, but doesn't he
know
get
your
like
place.
exploded and you see his ragdoll just fly across the screen or something?
I don't remember. I
That's
might
what I
have blanked it.
remember everybody talking about.
I think the one that we often cite is Charles Dance, where it's like you've got a fantastic actor with a great pedigree, but just appearing in so many shit films over the years.
Yeah,
And
I'm
it's-
sorry, I just pulled it up. He gets just so I think Starscream shoots him with a giant fucking missile, and he just flings across the stage. It's like, why did you do that to Anthony Hopkins?
Poor man. But I'm sure he absolutely owned every scene he was in. David March says, the biggest crime is Tom had Helen Mirren on a stream and didn't ask her about co-starring in 2010. Oh god, yeah. I liked her in that.
In 2010,
That was the... it's like the sequel to 2001 A Space Odyssey.
Oh,
Gets a bit of shit for being like, obviously 2001 A Space Odyssey is like one of those seminal sci-fi movies, like, just absolutely iconic. And 2010 was based again on the Arthur C. Clarke novels, but but it was a much more conventional kind of sci-fi movie. You know, it didn't quite deal with such grand concepts, or you know, it wasn't done in that Stanley Kubrick kind of way where it's like super unnerving and weird and all that. But I really liked it. I remember watching it back in the day and just being very impressed with it. And my take on it as a film reviewer is like it actually deals with a lot of the same big issues, like a lot of big questions that it tries to answer. It just does it in a slightly different way, but it's still a very good sci-fi movie. But yeah, Helen Mirren was in it, and it's very much set during the Cold War era. So she's like a Russian starship captain, I guess. But yeah, she's kind of hot in that, and they've left me feeling confused because I now see Helen Mirren as an old woman, and it's like, oh wait, old people were young once. I don't understand this.
Apparently, yeah, but I don't know if I trust it.
It's crazy, yeah. Trenchman says one thing I feel that ruins a franchise is making it into something it's not to be. Deep or more on the pulse. RoboCop and Alien are prime examples. Yeah, I'm trying to work out what he's saying here. Maybe he's like saying like stretching a franchise beyond its premise, like trying to do too many movies with it. In which case, yeah, I would agree. I think we
Yeah.
could probably all agree like Predator shouldn't really be stretched out into more films, or what they've done hasn't been great, you know.
Do you think we'd be saying that if they were really good, though?
I mean, I stand by Predator 2 being a lovely movie, and I liked it.
Well,
But
let's pretend there was like several Predator 2 level movies. Would we be like, you gotta stop? Or if we were John,
well,
like, yeah, whatever, keep going.
I mean, well, I guess, yeah. Ultimately, if they did a really good job and like produced more movies on par with the first one, it's like, well, I can't argue with the fact that like clearly
Yeah.
you've done this really well. So there must be something in it if you're able to keep it going.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like, is it truly like the franchise doesn't have the legs for it, or is it just shitty movies?
I mean, we come back to me when they make a good one, I suppose.
Uh, yeah, where are we now? Are we talking about Predator specifically? It's like we'll have to wait a little bit more.
We've got
Prey is
yeah,
closer than the Predator, you know.
yeah. There's that. There's also like the Aliens franchise. Like really, we had one and two, fantastic. It's been downhill ever since, and you know, again, you could in theory make a fantastic Alien movie, but
Yeah.
we need to see it first. M19 Silver Bullet says, how desperate do you think the studios will get to bring back older fans? A Star Trek, Star Wars crossover, for example. Christ almighty. Could they get that desperate? I mean, the rights issues alone would be like enough to kill an entire generation of lawyers, but I don't see how they would coexist. Like, based on the tiny bits that you've seen of Star Trek, like, how could that exist in the Star Wars universe? Like, could you see the Enterprise going up against Star Destroyers?
Um,
That's serious question you have to answer.
yes, and they would win because Kirk would activate Protocol Z76, and it would be great.
He would just take control of the Star Destroyers and make them crash into each other or something. Then now they don't know which way is up.
Oh, nailed it.
Master Knee says, what popular American show ended early but with grace? Christ, that's a very specific question.
American TV show that ended early and with grace. So we can do comedy and drama then, because I was about to say Angel ended. That's my favorite ending to a story ever. So, but it did end because it got cancelled, or rather, there's a story behind that because I'm pretty sure it was the most successful of all the seasons. But Joss Whedon like rushed it to getting renewed, and then they said no. I think that's how it went. To be fair, he wanted it to be renewed because he wanted to tell his actors that they could make arrangements to stay in the U.S. You know, like the actors that aren't based in the US, because you know, I can't imagine how annoying that would be, where it's like, I don't know if I have a job next year because I don't know if my character will live, you know, to be in the next season, or if we'll even get a new season.
Yeah.
And I need to set up things to go home because I won't have a fucking job. So I don't know. And then your directors, they every single year, like, well, roll the dice, bitch. Like, that's all you've got to do.
Well, it would be that question of like, well, okay, do I start looking for other roles beyond this? Like, do I
Yeah.
start auditioning and stuff to try and line up the next
Well,
job?
have you heard about the one with was it Acolyte, where they promised the director a whole like Star Wars movie, and now they've cancelled it, and she didn't take on other opportunities with Netflix, and now she's suing them for that.
Yeah, we talked about
Yeah,
this on Open Bar.
yeah,
Yeah, it was Apple TV that she passed up opportunities with, and so yeah, she was a producer on it. They shit canned her for whatever reason, and now she's suing them for lost earnings. And it's like, well, I don't think she's got a leg to stand on because ultimately she was under contract with them, and it's like whatever opportunities you think you might have missed out on, you were working for them. Like it's
I was
tough
gonna
shit
say,
ultimately.
surely they're smart enough to write contracts so that they can account for this sort of thing. Like, I'd be surprised if she actually got, even a settlement or anything.
I would assume so. Like they might. The only thing I can think that they would settle for is just like to avoid the negative publicity of an expensive lawsuit. Because it's
Yeah,
pretty damaging, especially because it's a woman. Like I think she'll probably get extra leverage from that. It's like, oh, you discriminated against me or something. So yeah, that might win her a few points. Oh yeah, next one is Cassius Cleo says, "Hail open bar crew! Imagine a Fallout season one that was a war story and it finishes with the nukes. Season two starts the post-apocalyptic story. Realistically, trans super mutants inbound." I would love to see a TV show of the Fallout universe. I think there's one in the offing, isn't there?
I think something we have to keep in mind, and The Last of Us has taught us this definitively. They ain't taking their time with any of these. I would imagine the first God of War will have him kill, like, if they're doing Norse, it might very well this first season he kills Odin. Like
Jesus.
they rush everything. Like Fallout, they need the vaults like just now. They need to go get the vaults. It's like if they've got anyone advising, it'd be like, what do fans want to see? The vaults. They want to see vault life, and then they want to see getting out of the vault, and then they want to see fucking death claws. They want to see some crazy character who's the boss of some crazy settlement somewhere, and you got to have everybody do some crazy quests and kill them. It's like they're gonna want to do all of that in season one, probably.
I want to see Vault 69, to be fair. That's where I want to be. But yeah, like, I think with the Fallout universe, it doesn't make a huge amount of sense to like spend an entire season in like the preamble before the war, because like it's really just like a pseudo 1950s like aesthetic to set up this conflict that's ultimately going to consume the world and turn it into what you see in Fallout. So the real meat of the story is going to be in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. I think if anything, it would make it more poignant to just see little glimpses of the world as it was before it gets turned into this nightmarish wasteland. So yeah, that's probably how I would do it.
Definitely different options you can take it, but like I said, they go into the vaults as soon as possible.
Yep. Trenchman says, "Have you all seen the McFarlane Flash movie figures? Total garbage. Even Todd doesn't care about this movie or Michael Keaton's Batman." Whoa.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be good. Liam Hardy says, "Hey Drinker and Longman, my question for Drinker is why do you sometimes change your video titles? E.g., your video on The Hobbit was originally called Why the Hobbit Sucks, and now it's called Why the Hobbit Failed to Equal Lord of the Rings." I mean, I think sometimes it's just like when I'm making videos, like the title of them is like the last thing I do, and sometimes it just doesn't capture my sentiments on the subject matter as well as I would like. And so I sometimes go back and tweak them a little bit and just try and like make it more in line with the tone of the review. Because, for example, I wouldn't want to be like, I don't know, why Prey is the worst movie ever. But then ultimately, my review turns out to be sort of lukewarm, positive with a few like caveats, like there's faults in it or whatever, because it's not representative of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've only got, I don't know, so many characters to play with in your YouTube titles, and so you've got to try and find something that sums it all up. And I'm not always like super good at doing that, so sometimes I'll have an idea later and like, okay, I'll change it a
Well,
little bit to like tweak it.
that just makes a lot of sense, right? Like, 'cause when we were breaking down Shazam 2, I was gonna put that in the title for the EVAP, and then I was like, I should probably also put the title like the state of DC, because we're going to talk about that so much. Like that's
Yeah,
probably going to happen. And yeah, it's like, well, what does that have to do with Shazam as a movie and its story? It's like I can't resist talking about the meta. That's why. Like it's when you make
yeah.
a video, yeah, you may find when you completed it and you look over it, you're like, wait, I was really obsessed with talking about a particular aspect here. I realized like that's probably what I was invested in, so it can represent the title. Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense.
I've changed things as well. Like particularly when I do trailer breakdowns sometimes, and like I find it interesting to like make some predictions about what I think the movie's going to be like and how I think it's going to perform and all that sort of stuff, like the meta around it, and then go and eventually do like a review of the movie itself. But then sometimes that's not obvious from the title that I've given it. Like, and Prey was a good example. Like I had titled my like trailer breakdown as just like, oh, Prey, it doesn't look good or something like that, because I wasn't too impressed with the trailer. But then people were looking at that after the movie came out and thinking that I was trying to review the film itself with that video, and it was like, well, that's just causing confusion. I need to do something to fix that. And so, like, again, it was a good like case for just going and changing it and said I've changed it to something innocuous, like full trailer breakdown or my thoughts on the trailer or something like that, because again, I didn't want to missell what was in the video, because like it's just going to annoy people if they go in expecting one thing and getting something totally different. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's annoying because I'm aware that like a lot of people watch the videos that I make, and like if I start changing the titles, it can confuse people. But like it's just, you tweak things based on your experience, I guess, and that's what I try to work from. So yeah, we're ultimately, like, us content creators, we're only human. Like we try to fit things in as best we can, but sometimes it's not always easy, and it takes a bit of tweaking, I guess, to get it right. Snakes and Funerals says Vicky works for Marvel. No more. Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
The Horrific Podcast says, hi folks, it's been a while since I've been able to jump on one of these. Hope you're all doing well. I think we're all doing pretty good. Yeah, pretty happy. Thank you. Christoph Brannigan says, really wary of thinking that Russell T Davies is going to save Doctor Who. I mean, you probably should be a bit wary.
Yeah.
But it's just like, don't assume anything's going to turn everything around, I get the impression he does want to do his best for this show, but how much can he really do at this point? I don't know. Swing Out Museum says, where's the chief financial officer at Disney? Yeah, that would be an interesting one.
Sure, he's having a headache.
I think if this was like a Japanese battleship or something, they would have probably committed seppuku at this point. Like, it's like, nah, we're done. I can't fix this. Cody Griffin says, so Conan is open source right now, gents. So where's the movie? Come on now, all of you, give us the greatest Conan movie ever, and who would you all choose to play Conan? So, probably Tom could have answered this better, because the rights issues are in Conan and are pretty complex, but I know they were going to do a Conan TV show at Amazon, and I think, is it Jennifer Salke who kind of oversaw Rings of Power? I think she shit canned it because it was too toxically masculine, because it's Conan the Barbarian, So that's kind of a shame that we never got to see that. But in terms of who could play Conan now, I don't know. From the current crop of actors, they don't seem to embody that Conan spirit, I guess, that Conan personality, because he is just a pure savage. I think Arnold had a good stab at it. I think probably Jason Momoa wasn't a great choice. I think they just picked him because he was big and buff.
Yeah.
But, yeah. M Hunter Stevie says, who would appreciate some sexy ScarJo in their Marvel movie? L's, B's, a fair amount of T's, and probably a measurable percentage of the the plus. Or is Hollywood afraid of the L gaze now? I think they just don't want to show any of that stuff. I think they would rather people that were just like grey, asexual blobs of flesh that just kind of glided around.
Around.
Yeah.
No, that might be too offensive. They need to just float. Very slowly.
Anti-gravity things that just convey them from place to place. But yeah, like, it's just, I mean, we've talked about it, and like there's no escaping this. The early Marvel movies used to be okay with showing the female form. You might have got a little bit of cleavage, you might have got an ass shot here and there. It was loud. It wasn't like the end of the world, but yeah, you really don't get that now. And like the end result is like the female characters, like the women, just end up dressed up like skinny, not particularly interesting looking men, and it just play to your strengths, that's not what we get anymore. So hey, they made their choice, I guess. I'm not gonna defend them for it. Nemenja says, "Do you guys think that deliberately casting non-white or male or straight actors or making characters diverse on purpose is actually racist or sexist, etc.?" Well, people often talk about the bigotry of low expectations and stuff, and like
Well, can
race
we
swapping characters.
make it real simple? If the scenario happens where you have 5 good actors and they're all different colors, and then you say can't be hiring the white guy because well, had enough of you guys. Yeah, that's just racist. It's pretty straightforward. And if then a company makes it official and it's like you must reach a quota and this means you cannot, like, whites need not apply to certain roles, it's like, whoa, we're going backwards. But yeah, a lot of people would argue, yeah, but it's not fair because I don't know, there's more white people in the acting industry to begin with or something. But I've never liked the intersectional sort of calculus you can do to justify basically any choice. As long as you move things around enough, like in terms of systems and societies, you can get away with doing some stuff that principally just seems absolutely wrong.
Well,
And
it's such a shit thing to do to people of the current generation as well, because most of them who are coming into the acting world like are like super progressive and super like bought into all this stuff, and like they just want to like be nice and they just want to help out. But it's like you're punishing them for the actions of like previous generations that didn't represent other groups effectively and maybe benefited from like extra hand ups and stuff. But it's like they're the ones who are now like copping the flack for all of that shit. And I just think it's such a crappy thing to put on them
when,
because inevitably that's going to lead to like resentment and frustration and like rebellion, I guess.
well, there's been a clear backfire as well because now people are so like bored and annoyed that some of this stuff happens behind the scenes, and there's plenty of like definitive proof of it, unfortunately, that they're starting to not trust spotting any like acting roles being handed out, especially race swaps. That gets people very like, oh, for fuck's sake, like why have you done this again? Is it because of blah blah blah? Instead of us, like it could be that they had an actress or actor that was just really fucking good, but
Well, yeah, I mean, look at look at Little Mermaid again, like, and this is where you're dealing with like I guess culturally sensitive like folklore as well, because it's like it's a Danish creation, isn't it? Like she's the Little Mermaid was created by like a Danish author, and so she's meant to have red hair and like white skin and stuff. And yeah, they've recast it with a black actress for no other reason than to make a point about contemporary politics. And like, how do they think that's going to go down? It's such a shit thing to put an actress through, if nothing else. Like, obviously, like an aspiring actress is going to take a role like this because it's an opportunity of a lifetime. But then she's opened herself up to so much abuse at the same time. It just feels like a no-win scenario for everyone. But they can't help themselves; they have to keep doing it. It's it's a weird creative decision, I guess.
Well, and you have to imagine there's some conversations going on about the fact that Disney's live-action remakes are getting absolutely ripped apart, like semi-regularly now. They were coming out at one point with either praise or nothing. I'm assuming you remember the days of not hearing fuck all about the remakes, even though they were coming out. It's just like, nobody really talks about them. They're there, whatever. But now they're like an eyesore.
Well, yeah, because it's gained that cultural momentum now, and it's like Disney are rapidly becoming just the people that you hate, because it's like all they do is remake shit from previous generations but make it worse.
Well,
and so like of course people are going to start hating on that.
I was really shocked because the Little Mermaid trailer, I saw people doing memes about Zack Snyder's Little Mermaid, and I was just like, what? And then I watched the trailer, I was like, what the fuck? Little Mermaid, and you made it like grimdark. What the fuck's going on?
Well, it's like what they did with the Lion King. People have pointed out like with CGI when you're trying to like have anthropomorphized animals, but they're photorealistic. Like there's only so much you can do in terms of their facial expressions before they just look terrifying. But you could do that with cartoons because they're cartoons. It's just animated stuff. And so when you're trying to show like emotions of all these different animals, it just doesn't work because you're trying to do things that their faces just aren't meant to do. You know, like a fucking a lion can't smile in the same way that a human being can smile. Not in real life, but that's what they're trying to convey, and it's just disastrous. You know, it's just like you're trying to do things that shouldn't be done. I suppose that's the best way I can put it. And that's just like when it comes to things like innocuous things like the Lion King. You know, and then you've got they did Beauty and the Beast, which like they got away with that, I think. But now you're getting into the realms of like we're race swapping characters and you know I think they've race swapped Snow White, a character who's literally defined by having skin as white as snow, and you know when they put a black actress in that role, you have to like start to wonder: is this like a piss take? Are they actually just seeing how much they can push their audience before they just rebel
Hey
against
man,
it? Because
I just want to see a white Black Panther and a white Blade. Okay, just do it.
that's the thing. That's the analogy people keep coming up with. Obviously it never swings that way. That door only swings one way, but it's the same principle. Like, why is it okay? Don't know.
Well,
It just is apparently.
everyone gets fucking hyper obsessive with like getting their just desserts in relation to all of this. Do you remember there was a conversation about how everyone was pissed off that they whitewashed Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi because it's James Earl Jones doing the voice of him, so he should be a black guy. And it's like, but it's a white guy in the suit, and the white guy who's like, but why can't things just be the way that the fucking creator he chose James Earl Jones because he loved the voice.
Yeah. It's like I don't listen to a voice and think that's a black person's voice.
I
You know
suppose
what I mean? Like it's just like that. Okay, James Earl Jones is quite a very distinctive, rich voice, but it's like that doesn't have to be tied to a black actor,
it doesn't
particularly
know.
when it's been gone through like the vocal synthesizer of Darth Vader's helmet as well.
Well,
Like,
also
and
just I assume if that went all ways, then that prevents a lot of actors from being able to do some incredible voices for lots of characters just because their skin colors don't match up enough, you know? And you just be like, oh, that seems like a shame. But obviously, more of that's been happening too, like with Apu and Cleveland from Family Guy and some other examples.
yeah, I'm personally enraged that Groundskeeper Willie is not played by an actual Scottish person.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, offensive, you could say.
Yeah, I'm furious. Yeah, I was deeply offended by that. Like even as a kid. Yeah. Grendel Vivat says, "Hi Chris, or Chris. What about a Vader limited series hunting down survivors of Order 66? This isn't hard, Disney. In my opinion, their only hope is to go into the past or future of the timeline as far from the sequels as possible." Well, you're shit out of luck because they're trying to tie into the sequels already with Mandalorian, so you can't escape it.
Ba ba bam ba ba bam bam ba.
Yep, it's an indelible part of Star Wars now.
Do you think though? Because I don't know what it is. I feel like a controversial take today on every subject. It's like I don't know that we should dismiss them whenever they're heading toward the sequels, unless it is just bad. Like if it's bad, fair enough. But if it's because couldn't you technically argue don't watch the OT because it leads to the sequels?
I could no, I wouldn't argue that because they were created so far apart. Like they were clearly not made with any idea that the sequels were going to be a thing.
I would just argue, well, no, because they're a good story. It doesn't matter if the sequels come later; just don't watch them. Like,
I think, yeah, I guess the problems come in when you're going to have to try and weave your story around what's going to happen in the sequels, and it's going to become increasingly hard to do and make the story like the quality of the writing like maintain at a high level. And I think probably it's going to be a self-correcting thing where it's like, well, okay, it's going to get progressively more shit the more sequel stuff they try and work into it.
remember the praise that people gave Luke showing up at the end of season 2, right? I don't think it would have been a popular take to say, yeah, but this leads to the sequels, guys.
I mean, yeah, I have my own thoughts on that anyway. It's such a funny thing because I can see it from both sides. I can, on a purely emotional level, it's like, oh, it's nice vindication, get to see Luke as he was, as he was meant to be. But on the other hand, it's like it feels like it's just a little breadcrumb leading you towards this gigantic
Oh,
trap of the sequels.
it was absolutely an attempt at being like, remember that TLJ thing that we did? We should probably try and make him forget about that.
Yeah.
Give him Luke killing a bunch of robots with his lightsaber. Do it.
But it's very much like, well, it's very much like Last of Us Season 1. Okay, we can appreciate it as being a good piece of writing in its own right, but we know where it's leading. So it's tainted with that,
Yeah.
as much as we wish it wasn't.
But you wouldn't say the Last of Us 1 game is tainted with the Last of Us 2.
Well, I wish I could say that. Like, almost retroactively, it feels like it might be, but no, I probably would say it's not because I feel like it was done with different creative goals in mind.
Yeah, all I would prefer is to point to those actual pieces of damage, which do exist. Like all the commentary about cloning, right? It kind of annoyed us when we were watching it. 'Cause we were like, wait, why hasn't there been like in the Star Wars universe more of a like we had the clones. We've seen that their armor is, or like there's different clones around it. Did it become illegal? Did there something go wrong? So I remember reading at one point that there was apparently an enemy the Empire fought that used some kind of gas that wiped out like the genetic line of the clones or something.
Gas.
Not as a wait, well, not as like a way to get rid of them, but as a form of taking advantage of the fact that they share a genetic code or something like that. It sounded kind of interesting and sci-fi-ish, but the point being that they were a liability at that point. And they needed to switch them out for different kinds of soldiers. And I was like, why haven't we had that in the mainline films or TV shows yet? Maybe it's in Clone Wars. I don't think so because that's obviously set before Revenge of the Sith, right? I think up to Revenge of the Sith, with some stuff maybe after in terms of flash forwards. But yeah, I'm not a huge because like they're introducing the idea of cloning probably because of Palpatine, right? They're gonna be bringing him back and Snoke and whatever the fuck all that is. And so people saying it's going to lead to the sequels, and I'm just sitting here like I just want to know more about this world's opinion on cloning. It doesn't. I'm just not clear on it.
I always found the clone troopers kind of interesting as a concept. Like, again, what happened to them after the Clone Wars? Like, were they just phased out? Did they die off naturally? Like, were they outlawed somehow once they served their purpose? Again, like, you got little hints of that because you saw, like, a homeless clone trooper, like, on the street begging for money at one point.
One of the most interesting things that happens in the Kenobi show is seeing that.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, that's cool. That's like a little hint to like something that happened in this world. Give us more of that, please. And it's like, nah, we're not going to do that because that's as far as we care to go down that road.
Yeah,
It's a shame. It's yeah. I like these little pieces of like world building. See where they go. Ja Crispy says, can you name a better action movie than The Raid and Raid 2? I feel like Gareth Evans is horribly underrated as a director. Gangs of London, great too. I mean, I love both of the Raid movies. I think they're very fun to watch. But yeah, I could probably name better action movies than that. But yeah, they're good for what they are, for sure. Silk Crayfish says, Lucasfilm used to have a division which looked at all non-canon books like Thrawn and took the good ones that didn't contradict and made them canon. That's what you need. Instead of the ridiculous overpaid Lucasfilm story group or whatever, just have people like that. Or just, port all that stuff over. Why did you have to, like, decanonize it?
I don't know. I don't... It's a fucking cheat code. You have all of the fans' reactions to all those stories. You can pick and choose all the best ones. Why? Yeah. Why do you hate money?
Yep. Mr. Peckerwood says, is there a sign in front of my house that says dead Romulan storage? There's already a Star Hood Trek for those that want some gangster Trek. I'm all in favor of that. That sounds good to me. Mercy Lago says, someone tell Disney Baby Yoda could be a YouTube Shorts channel and just sell as much merch so Mando can ditch him and be a Bounty of the Week show. That would have been better. El Berizente says, it's Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Galaxy's Edge by itself is owned by someone else who is not connected or related to Disney, and it's a great sci-fi book series. Fair play. For the 13th floor says, how do you make a multi-million-dollar IP? Start out with a multi-billion-dollar IP and give it to Kathleen Kennedy to run. True. Alex's channel says, despite being a low-budget 5-episode animated series on YouTube, Time Lord Victorious Daleks is a pretty good, and I highly recommend it to anyone who wants a good 1-hour Dalek story. Nice. Danny B says, hey Drinker, any thoughts on Henry Cavill Warhammer 40k project? I'm intrigued. I hope he does well with it. I'd love to see the world of 40k brought to life and with a good budget behind it, so wish him the best of luck. Tiara Starbrighter says, physicist Ernest Rutherford, we've got no money, so we've got to think. Well, that's the tough one, yeah. I remember when movies used to have to think because they couldn't just throw a bunch of shit at the screen. Carolyn says, I think there's any connection between the increase in video game movies and this new Dungeons and Dragons movie. There has for sure been a surge in D&D's popularity, but unfortunate that the attention here versus Critical Role. Yeah, I don't know if this ties into what we were suggesting, that video games might be the next big thing in terms of movie projects. D&D was obviously a board game rather than a video game, so I don't know how that ties in really. Senior Schnitz says Falcon is just Black Condor Man. Well, there you go. Leandro Ribeiro says, guys, did you see the Unreal Metahuman creator? It's scary. Google it. Ooh, might have to look at that later then. Kiki Hideout says, seems that these woke moments are like unspoken protocols that must be obeyed, or they get allegations and retaliation. It really seems dogmatic. I mean, it's basically a cult, I guess, for a lot of these people. CD says, Muller, I think Dark Souls could be a solid TV show with the right writers and studio. Great characters and lore, lots of room to get creative with the death mechanics. Could be badass with dark humor.
I think you can make anything work, though I do think it's a bit strange to choose Dark Souls. It's like lore heavy and not story heavy. The story, so to speak, is you going through like a ruined world and beating up bosses, right? Like it doesn't lend itself very well to like a TV show, but you can of course just add a whole bunch of shit in. Why not? Add a bunch of characters, add a bunch of motivations that are much more clearer for the main character, or not, depending on how faithful you want to go. But or you can make a film about the lore, because oftentimes the lore as told in the Soulsborne games, basically the story that was before, sounds super fucking interesting. So yeah.
Sheaveburger says, I've been hearing about a reboot of The Lost Boys since 2017. The ghost of Corey Haim and woke gender swaps have been able to hold the studios off. If it gets done, we good night, bloodsuckers. Yeah, please don't do that. I don't want to see a modern remake of anything, really. Easy E says, anyone seen the D&D movie from 2000? Jeremy Irons was a maniacal villain and it still bombed. Talk about running out of reboot ideas. Yeah, I remember that.
Isn't the line like "Let blood rain from the sky"?
I'm sure at one point he's like, I can feel your rage.
It's so fucking good. That's the kind of performance where I'm just like, thank you. Like, for doing something so ridiculous.
Thank you, Jeremy. Albatross says, an incompetent goofy male character or a strong warrior girl character aren't really fresh and new. Dopey guys are as old as entertainment itself. Yes, very true. And it's really played out now. Founding Father says, evening gents, heads up drinker, I'm starting a GoFundMe to buy Hollywood. I'll put you and Muller in charge with all of the freedom that you want. Cheers. Thank you. All right. Should we take over Hollywood?
Tomorrow maybe? I don't know. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, I need to sleep in. I'm going to sober up. Yeah. The Biv says, the best Star Wars since OT is Andor. That should be your lesson. I mean, I don't know if I can disagree with that either. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, I mean, what would be suggested as beating it? It would have to be
Rogue One, maybe?
The only contenders, I imagine, would be Rogue One, Mandalorian, and the prequels. That's what the top answers you probably get, and I think that Andor's better than all of those. So,
yeah, I'd probably go with that actually. Robo96 says, "Hi Drinker, seeing Harrison Ford and Keiji Juan at the Oscars makes me increasingly deflated that Short Round won't be in Indy 5. Yeah, join the club. Would have been so much sense if this was his last hurrah and the nostalgia, Juan's likability would have papered over the cracks. Yeah, I mean, he could have absolutely helped to make this movie something at least.
Hmm.
But yeah, we've got Phoebe Waller-Bridge instead, so yeah, buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride. Zach Fritz says, just a question, drinker, for you and the panel. If you had seen Shadow and Bones, and if so, what is your opinion of it? I haven't seen Shadow and Bones, so I don't know.
Neither have I.
Sorry, man. Apologies. Call sign Alucard says, Chris, do you think your review of D&D movie could be tainted by ignorance of the IP? Example, why call a halfling a small man? Don't get it wrong, dislike D&G because OGL. There's a lot of abbreviations there, but yeah, I'm not sure what Chris's feelings were about his review of it, but he seemed to be like, I don't know, he was critical, but he had elements of positivity towards the movie as well. So it wasn't like nothing but negativity. Theoden King of the Brohans says TLJ should have been a remake of Death Wish starring Chewbacca. I would have paid to see that. Giant the World Ender says, Gary, any plans for a meetup near Tulsa? I don't know, I'm afraid. Gary could only tell you that. XSL says, TFA kills the body, TLJ kills the soul, the Rise of Skywalker kills the mind. That's pretty apt, I would say, actually. Ofer Rafid says, speaking of Glass Onion, why did you lie, drinker? A pillar of garbage says that you did, and he had an English accent, so he must be telling the truth. Well, I mean, clearly, yeah. It's all a lie.
That video was awful.
I secretly thought Glass Onion was fantastic, and
You had to make up reasons to hate it.
Yeah.
You meanie boy.
I think EFAP did a sterling job of deconstructing all his arguments. So go and watch their episode on it. I think they destroyed him pretty much.
It's just funny, the desperation. Imagine just being like, Drinker constructs this whole system, this web of lies in order to convince people not to like a movie that he is like ideologically opposed to. When I'm just sitting there knowing you well enough to be like, no, he would have said it was good if it was good.
There's no ideology in Glass Onion anyway. It's just a bad movie.
I think they mean like you're opposed to Ryan Johnson.
Okay, yeah.
Like you can't praise his stuff ever. But even though I'm assuming you'd praise Ozymandias, the Breaking Bad episode.
I would, yeah.
And how dare you? He made that.
I know, but then I guess there's that difference between Ryan Johnson, the director, which I don't have an issue with, and Ryan Johnson, the writer. And I think, what you see there is like when you get TLJ or you get Glass Onion or you get, Knives Out, that's his writing coming to the fore. And that's where he's,
yeah, I agree.
He differs from my idea of what a good story should be. But, we talked about this before. Like, theoretically, he could produce the best movie ever made. In which case, I would shower it with praise. I might not like him as a person necessarily, but I can respect the work that he produces. That's what I would aim for, I suppose, if I'm going to be a fair reviewer. Aurora Uplink says, I wrote what I feel might be a reboot of Star Wars. I sent it along a chain directly to Bob Iger. Well, I'm sure it'll get to him then, I guess. If you hear of a short film called The Red Light, maybe he will approve it. I hope you go see it repeatedly. Well, if it does get made, then count me in. Dewey says, today is my birthday. Happy birthday, man. Huge fan. Start my channel a few weeks ago to join the fight. Could I get a shout out? IB Dewey. There you go. IB Dewey. That's his channel. Take a look. Zachariah Nunez says, Guy, you get to look at women. I mean, we do, yeah, I suppose. We all do. Christian Wolf says, do you think Knights of the Old Republic is removed enough from the trilogies that it could not be tainted by recent Star Wars? It also has a huge gamer fan base. You might be able to answer this better than me, because I know fuck all about the Star Wars games.
Well, so, do you want to read it again? What exactly do they want to know?
Do you think Knights of the Old Republic is removed enough from the trilogies that it could not be tainted by the recent Star Wars films? So, like, could you just see it as its own thing, I
As
guess?
far as I'm aware, it is very much removed in terms of like it can be added on without concern, but can also be removed, and the OT will be and the prequels and stuff. But fans adore it. I think it might be the most adored piece of Star Wars content outside of the OT. So it's kind of it elevates itself to that position, and it can't. I don't think it can be damaged unless they remade it or if they made a sequel that was really really bad, like in modern times. But yeah, I had a super chat the other day. I think that asked me to tell you to play Star Wars games from the prequel era, and I was like, look, Drinker's got loads of things he's got to do. We all kind of do.
Yeah, I got games lined up as well as like 500 different movies that I need to review. So yeah, I kind of got enough going on right now. Abigor says no true Scotsman eats pineapple on pizza. I mean, yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I'm not a massive pineapple on pizza man. Throw me some jalapenos on there though, and then we can talk. Edward Morris says, Gary, Dragon Ball is easier than One Piece lol, 1,000 episodes. There's a version of Dragon Ball Z that cuts out all the filler. Oh, there we go. Casey Boyd says, Drinker, Invincible is basically the Western version of One Punch Man, but darker. Mauler, if you like One Punch Man, have you seen Mob Psycho 100? Same creator.
I have not.
Well, I've recommended Invincible to you before, but yeah, I quite liked it. Carrier, a Raccoon City Story, says, Cheers, Drinker and crew. Anyone getting Resident Evil 4 remake tomorrow? Oh, yes, we did.
Yeah.
I'm holding off till I finish up episode 2 of my series and possibly once I get a PS5. I mean, yeah, those are stumbling blocks to be sure, but yeah, it's going to be worth it. Excuse me. But yeah, it's been good fun so far. Kaylee Falls says, Yo Drinker, highly recommend Marlowe, Liam Neeson's newest movie in whose favour I skipped Ant-Man 3. It's wokeness free as far as I can tell, just a good old fashioned whodunit. You might love it. Marlowe, there you go. Mark of Reality says, any chance that you're going to go to the meetup in Las Vegas or later in Orlando? Hope is all that we have. I'm sure we can sort something out. I think we're all going to be at Anime Matsuri in August, so you might see us all there. Schlepp Edit says, Drinker, what is your hair of the dog drink of choice? Cheers, I'm smashed. You should watch Bushwick. Yeah, hair of the dog. I might be tempted by a Bloody Mary. I've had them a few times and they do work a treat. I'm not going to lie. But failing that, it would probably be beer or lager. Yeah, I'd probably go for like an Innocent Gun or possibly an IPA. What are the ones that you get? The Brewdog IPAs. They're pretty good. They've got decent alcohol content, so they can get you drunk again without too much difficulty. So that would be my recommendation. Casey Boyd says, Drinker, Demon Slayer is the series that outsold the entire Western comic industry in its run. Yes, I heard about this. Meaning Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, etc. all combined. I mean, that's terrifying, but yeah, impressive all the same. Casey Boyd also says, tell me you had some southern barbecue in Atlanta. I did actually go to a barbecue restaurant. Yeah, I think it was my second night there. There was a pretty decent one not too far from my hotel and the convention center and stuff. And yeah, I went there with one of my mates who was good enough to come down to the convention and like chum me for the weekend. And so we went out. We had many beers and we had some really good barbecue. It was a rack of ribs and I think beef brisket. Yeah, so all very good. I like that.
Beautiful.
Especially because I hadn't eaten all fucking day. Like, I didn't eat lunch the whole time I was there. I just never got the chance. So by the evening, I was absolutely starving. Shakalaka King says, if I could recommend one anime, it's Violet Evergarden. Thank you. Okay. Casey Boyd says, an EFAP on Star Wars Visions would be awesome. Although it's a Disney Plus exclusive, it was not produced by Disney. They're worth the watch.
we're just not interested. And I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I hate to say it this way, but like, the only reason we watched Andor is because everybody was telling us to. Like, and we were like, okay, fine, we'll do it. I think the same thing happened with Arcane. Enough people and Squid Game. Enough people told me to watch it that I got around to watching it. Star Wars Visions. There was like equal amounts of people saying watch it and don't watch it. So I was like, oh, I'll leave it.
Yeah. Vinyl Morpheus says, someone suggested that you bring on YouTuber Purple Horror Show onto Open Bar. I'm going to second that suggestion. Great channel. Cheers, my brother. Well, I think we have to bring him on then. Danny B says, thoughts on Henry Cavill Warhammer project? I'm tentatively excited about it. I just want to see Henry do something nice. Casey Boyd says, I've always thought Star Wars video games were 1,000 times better than their film content. You should really play some, drinker. I know, I just got to get past Resident Evil, I guess. Kaylee Fold says, hope the drinker's planning to watch and review the Super Mario Brothers movie when it comes out. I'm stoked for that one. I mean, I'm sure it's going to do really well regardless. And last one is from Casey Boyd says, okay, let's ask ourselves, would Jennifer Lawrence have been a better cast for Captain Marvel? Yes. Yes, she would. Definitely.
She was Captain Marvel. What do you mean?
Well, she invented Captain Marvel and movies and comics. So, yeah. We should be grateful to Jennifer Lawrence. But yeah, I think she would have been better in the role. I don't think she would have made it great, but, it's something. But anyway, that's the last of our super chats. So, damn, that was a long one, actually. There was a lot more there than I expected. But thank you for everyone who sent them to us. We appreciate it. Hopefully, we've been able to give you some decent answers tonight. And yeah, next time you see us, you'll catch us on the next open bar. So, thank you very much. And that's all we got. So, we're going to go away now.
Toodle pip, cheerio.